And now Jiuba is going to say their perspective, their point, and then we'll rebuttal.
We said that dharma should be accommodated so that it's more accessible for many people around the world to attain salvation.
Bhagwan is able to see the future, so he knows that the Kalyung is going to keep changing and getting worse. So he provided us the Shikshapatri and Vajramut because he knows what's good for us, and he has put it in simple terms.
Bhagwan wrote the Shikshapatri in means of what is happening in those current times, and even though he can see the future, he wrote that Shikshapatri to guide us in our current situation back then.
So the sorry. So the point is, Bhagwan wrote the Shikshapatri back then, and it was a guide for us back in the day. So, do you guys have anything to challenge that?
Well, right now, Santo are still reading the Shikshapati, and it's still everyone in our sampradaya is reading the Shikshapati because it has all the rules that we need to follow right now.
Apna
Bhagwan has
Sampradayama, this Shikshapatri is being read because it is also a tradition that Bhagwan has put on us, right? Just like the water cloth has become, it's not just because the water filtration, it has also become a symbol. And in that way, the Shikshapatri has become a symbol of our sanstha because it's a collection of all our Vedic scriptures as well, which is why it's so symbolic and important for us, and it's why it's still being read.
So the argument is that reading Shikshapatri is only because it is a symbol and it's a tradition. We are reading it because we have been doing it for so many years. So we continue to read it. Doesn't mean that we have to follow everything in the Shikshapatri.
So changing dharma to fit modern standards would ultimately change our religion. So our dharma is based on the Veda and Hinduism. So if you modify dharma, you're implementing change for the religion. Additionally, our santos, like Guru Maharaj, can't change dharma. So having people like us who try to live true to dharma but can't entirely is not justifiable.
Okay, but also like in the past, dharma has been changed. Like for example, before like Maharaj came onto this earth, basically whenever a husband died and there was still the woman, like the wife in the relationship living, she would get burnt along with the husband, like she would get burnt alive. But then Bhagwan, he like changed this rule, and therefore he changed dharma.
But Bhagwan changed it, and he created the rules.
But again, there were many gods before Bhagwan, and I'm not saying this because Bhagwan is our supreme god. But again, the dharma was already existing and he still changed it, which proves that if in dire consequences, dharma can still be changed. And we are going as it can be modified, not changed. We still need to retain our core values, but there are some things that we might need to go around.
Okay, so the key word they presented was dire. In dire circumstances, dharma can be changed.
So Bhagwan has written in the Shikshapatri, Shlok 8 and 9, that those who practice these ethics and dharma will attain great happiness in this world and the afterworld. Those who change or violate these are considered evil and will receive great sufferings in this world and the afterworld.
We should follow the Shikshapati rules, and we will, but we all have the same path, attaining moksha. And there are certain guidelines, as in dharma. So with that, we all want to follow that, but there are some times where we can't follow the exact path because it restricts us to do some stuff. So we have to change where we're able to do it.
So wait, to add on to what she was saying, so like in Shlok 83 of the Shiksha Patri, it says that people, I mean everyone must take pilgrimage in Dwarika, but let's say for example like someone who's living in America at this time, they don't have the resources or like the time to take the pilgrimage. Does that mean that they won't attain moksha just because they weren't able to, they didn't have the like ability to take the pilgrimage?
It also depends on your bhav and your actual sincerity for Bhagwan, right? If you're doing this without you're doing this for salvation, but you're not actually trying, then you're not going to get it, right? Even before the Shikshapatri was written, were there not bhakto that had already attained moksha when the Shikshapatri wasn't there?
Very good point. That's a very good point, right? Is there anything you guys have to challenge it? The point is, did people get moksha before the Shikshapatri was written? Yes or no? Huh? Oh, they are saying that did people so we are talking about salvation, right? We are talking about moksha. So they are saying, did people go to Akshardham, or did people get salvation before the Shikshapatri was written? Because what were they following back then? Because there was no Shikshapatri. So does it mean that Shikshapatri is necessary to get moksha?
Before the Shikshapatri, it was the Vedic scriptures. Yeah, the Shikshapatri is only the simplified version of all this stuff, so we don't have to take time reading everything.
Yeah, but even before the Vedic scriptures were written, right? Because these Vedic scriptures, they were written by somebody, and on these times, there were also people before these times, right? Because say, the Shikshapatri, Bhagwan has told us to follow the Shikshapatri, right? But back then, he didn't specifically say, oh, let's follow these Vedic scriptures, right? He wrote the Shikshapatri so that we would follow the Shikshapatri and not these other Vedic scriptures, right? Because if there were things in these other Vedic scriptures that he didn't want us to follow, then he wouldn't, he would have just told us, oh, go read all the Vedic scriptures. It's not necessary.
The Vedic scriptures are just, the Shikshapatri is just a simplified version of the Vedic scriptures.
But how can you simplify something without like taking out some parts of it? Because like, how can you simplify a like 1,000-word essay into one paragraph without taking some parts of it out?
It's just the main points.
Exactly. So some of these points were lost to history.
It's Bhagwan. He can do anything. He can summarize a 1,000-word essay into like 5 words.
Yeah, but it's also Bhagwan. If we stray off the path of Dharma, he'll reincarnate to help us again.
But Bhagavan does what's best for us.
Okay, so let's move on to the next point that they made, is that in the Shikshapatri, it's said that people, all the followers or the devotees should visit Dwarika. And the point they were asking or making is that if you don't visit Dwarika, will you not get moksha? Do you guys want to challenge that? Or does that need to change in the modern times? Because that's what we are debating. Does the so people in the US, if they don't have the means to go to Dwarika, do we need to change that to fit our modern times?
Shlok 83.
Okay, you guys have 10 seconds.
No, because in the Garida Madhya 16, Bhagwan says that if one attempts to maintain faith in Dharma, the faith in God may decline. So basically, just changing Bhagwan's rules that he wrote in the scriptures will like weaken our connection with Bhagwan. And again, like it will just change our whole religion of like all these generations that have followed.
We're not trying to change them. We're trying to find like a different approach to get to them. So everyone can get there somehow.
Okay, so let's move on to a next point. And unless you guys have something to say, do you guys have something to add? Okay, so here's one more thing. So, do you guys want to start a new topic or new challenge them some way? Do you guys have a point that you guys want to challenge them on?
In Vachanamrut 50, in Vachanamrut Garda Pratham 54, it says that one who has firm faith in the words of God will remain steadfast in his observance of dharma and in the satsang.
Right. So basically, he's saying that he's explaining that God should come before dharma, basically because like basically let's just say like there's someone who doesn't have the huh? Okay. Let's just say there's someone who's a really good like a satsangi, right? And he has a lot of faith in Bhagwan, but he doesn't have the means to follow all the rules in the Shiksha Patri. Then does that mean he's less he has less he's less of a satsangi than someone who has all the means to follow them but has less faith in him?
Can you guys clarify that one more time, please?
Just because we don't have faith in dharma doesn't that does not imply that we don't have faith in dharma, right? Because we're still arguing for the purpose of dharma. We're arguing for the goal that Bhagwan has given us. That shows our undying faith for Bhagwan, right? Does it not?
So, are you guys for or against?
If we're trying to modify dharma, that does not mean we do not have faith in the core structure that Bhagwan has set for us. And
Faith in Maharaj and someone who has lesser faith in Maharaj, and someone who has strong in faith in Maharaj but is not able to comply to all the rules of dharma. On the other side, there's someone who follows all the rules of dharma but doesn't have stronger faith in Maharaj. So does that other person not attain moksha? Someone who has um, lesser less someone who does not follow dharma as strictly but has really strong faith in Maharaj.
So, is it enough that you have faith? Right, that's what you guys are saying. Yeah. So, is faith enough, or do you have to follow the Shikshapatri or the rules to attain moksha? That's what they're saying. If because they're saying that what if I have lots of faith in Bhagwan, do I still need to follow the rules as strictly?
the Shikshapatri is a guide for us, right? It's a guide for us as our souls to attain that salvation, right? And the Shikshapatri tells us how to cut the ties from materialistic desires, right? No alcohol, no meat, because these are all desires that will lead to more desires. But with faith, if you are able to cut off all these materialistic desires, then the Shikshapatri, even though it's there, you don't need it because you have already achieved what the Shikshapatri is trying to help you achieve.
Okay. Do you guys hear the argument, and do you guys have anything to debate?
Yeah.
So I agree with you, but in the Shiksha Patri, it says if you do follow the Shiksha Patri, doesn't matter how much, but how much you can, you will surely attain moksha.
Exactly. So, I mean, we're not trying to modify the whole Shiksha Patri, are we? If we follow some of the Shiksha Patri, we'll attain moksha. That's what you're saying.
So we'll pick and choose what we want to follow from the Sikshapatri. We'll select the things we want to follow, and then we'll not follow the ones that we can't, right? That's what you guys
Well,
are
we're
saying?
not saying that. We're saying that. Oh, is that what she's saying? Wait, that's what we're saying, right?
Yeah.
But we're not saying that. We're saying like, um, basically, dharma should be modified to make it more accessible to people around the world. Since now times have changed, and sometimes times are more difficult for specific people.
Dharma is basically like the ABCs. It's already simplified enough. So the Shiksha Maharaj has already made it into the Shiksha where it's simplified enough, and that the people in the modern world can follow it easily.
Even though Dharma is simplified enough, there's just some people that don't understand it. Our religion is complicated, and there's so many deeper things that we need to understand. The Shikshapatri is only a simplified version, and even though if we follow the Shikshapatri, we also have to do it with the understanding of what the Shikshapatri is, right? That's what we learned in spirituality part of this lesson, right? We need to understand what we're reading. If we follow the Shikshapatri, we're doing everything, but we don't understand the divine glory of God. We don't understand what we're doing. What's the point?
Then you seek guidance. You ask Hari Bhakta, you ask Santo, you can even ask your parents, and they'll tell you anything they possibly can to help you.
Possibly clan. They don't know everything.
Santo do, they're very connected to Bhagwan.
Yeah, well, for us, we're women, and even if we are able to connect Sant from men, right? Santo might not know everything, right? Because Bhagwan, he's antaryami, he's all knowing. We don't have the capacity, the mental capacity as humans to know everything he does.
Then go look for Sankyogyi and they'll help us.
They're also they're also human. What are they gonna do? They're not any. Okay, are they humans? Santo are humans. Sankhya Yogi Ben are humans. Are you gonna tell me that Sankhya human they're greater than Santo?
They're pretty equal because
they're pretty equal. Thank you for clearing that up for me.
All right, I think good point. Both of you guys have very valid points and good points. And we truly appreciate you guys making the effort. I know it's hard to speak against Bhagwan, and it was very one-sided, but you guys did try to make it make good arguments. So very good. Thank you for the effort. But the results, of course, we all know that we cannot change Shikshapatri, and we shouldn't be changing Shikshapatri. Even though, yes, you guys had a valid point that if we change rules, it will become more accessible to others, and more people around the world would follow. But do we want those kind of followers? Do we want more people who yes, we want to introduce them to Bhagwan. Yes, we want them to follow the Shikshapatri, but at what cost, right? So nowhere, no Santo or no Sankhyogi Beno will ever tell you that we should be changing Shikshapatri, of course, right? And yes, of course, they also knew that. They were just trying to challenge you, so very healthy challenge. You guys both the teams did really, really well. So big round of applause for both of you guys. Thank you.
Can I say one more thing? Okay. So let's say you do want to modify the Shikshapatri, right? So it's accessible for everybody else, right? But let's say even in the future, those people who are still here following Bhagwan's Shikshapatri, and you modify it so it's accessible for more people, right? What are they gonna do? They're gonna get confused. Like, do we follow what Bhagwan said, or do we follow this new rules?
we're not trying to modify the dharma. We're just trying to find a different approach to it. Everyone wants to follow dharma in order to attain moksha. Well, it's hard for other people to understand dharma, so people take different approaches to attain the same thing. Everyone's trying to get to the same goal, moksha. So if we're not able to do a certain approach, we can try different approaches, but still do the same thing to attain moksha.
Okay, let's end the debate now. Both teams had really, really good points to say. But we have come to a conclusion that Jiuba has argued their points stronger. They have argued their arguments stronger. And Laduba was, some of their points they weren't able, Laduba wasn't able to give a proper explanation to. So we're going to conclude Jiuba as the winner for today's debate.
That definitely does not mean that we go about changing the rules. It just means that you guys argued stronger. You guys are better lawyers of the future, okay?
Jai Swaminarayan.
Wait, what happened to the tree? We should have done the tree. We should have done the tree.
It was